Does your team trust you? Does it even matter? Stay tuned for this episode.
Awaken the leader inside. Follow the path of leadership. Never give up. Never stop trying. Get up. Believe in yourself. Not every day is going to be easy, but you got to challenge yourself. You need courage. Be ready. Stop waiting for it to happen. Go make it happen. Harness the power within. You are destined to be a leader. Follow the path of leadership. Awaken the leader inside.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. My name's Dave Rubalcava, and I'm your host here at Awaken the Leader Inside, a show dedicated to your leadership journey. Remember, you are never alone. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode. So great topic today. We talk about trust, and we really know that trust is important, but I want to ask you a question. So if trust is so important, do we see that in the workforce? Do we see that in your company? Do you feel like that in your company, that there's a high level of trust that you have with your leader, with your peers, and just the environment in general? And I will tell you that a lot of people that I've met in my career, a lot of peers that I've met from company to company, the answer is no. And so I sometimes scratch my head. I'm like, how does this happen? Like, how do we get to a place that you're in an environment where you don't feel like you can trust people, and that you can't trust your leader? And so I want to kind of give it to you from the leadership lens, because it's difficult to see sometimes when you're looking up as to why like this stuff is happening. But I'm going to tell you that a lot of the time trust falls out because of how we react as leaders. And I'm going to give you an example. Trust is fragile, just like any relationship, just like any, normal relationship. When trust is broken, or you feel like somebody's hiding something from you, then naturally suspicion starts to arrive and start to kind of question things that are happening in the environment. And, then trust just starts to fall apart. And I think that's kind of natural progression in life in general. And I really, truly believe that as a leader, you can help control this. You can help. You don't even have to be the leader in your office. You could just be peer-to-peer, creating an environment, or you can just be an associate that helps generate trust and helps build a better relationship with some of your peers. It doesn't matter the level, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I do know from the top looking down, there is this natural instinct for some reason to not be transparent. Don't share all the information because it could be overwhelming, which is within reason. Sometimes we don't want to share the bigger picture because it might overwhelm our team. But there's also a feeling of maybe this is privileged information, so I'm not going to share it. So naturally, and when you're in an environment where you don't feel like information is being shared, or when you blatantly ask about something and it's kind of shushed away, or you're asked to like, don't worry about it and whatever, naturally over time, those habits will continue to progress to the point where maybe you don't feel like you trust somebody. Maybe you don't feel like people are being honest with you. And sometimes it's through, in the realm of leadership, sometimes it's just disclosure. You can't share everything for a specific reason because it's going to affect certain results, or it's going to affect other people outside the organization. So sometimes that happens. That's natural. But at the end of the day, when you feel like you can't connect with somebody, or they're not being honest with you, and they're not sharing information, it can be like that. Now you ask yourself, is it important? Is trust important? I will say 1,000% trust is important. Over the course of your career, over the course of your team's performance and your associates that you're working together, or peers or leaders, whatever, there has to be a high level of trust. And trust is manufactured by everyone involved. It is not just the leader, even though the leader should be the one, driving this and kind of coordinating it. But that's not always necessarily true. But leadership, success requires that you have some level of trust. Now, the only way to get to the bottom of this, you guys, is to be absolutely transparent and have some difficult conversations with not only your peers or with your leaders, and just say like, this is how I feel. I feel like I can't turn to you. I feel like you're not giving me enough information. Or sometimes trust gets kind of rocked just by the environment, being in a hostile environment. Sometimes that also affects the outcome when it comes to trust. So there's a lot of variables, but at the end of the day, it's just like any relationship, guys. You got to ask the question, and it's the hardest question. And as a leader, it's even harder to ask this because for some reason we feel uncomfortable asking this. But I've had no problem in my career saying, hey, do you trust me? Do you trust my judgment? And you'd be surprised. Sometimes the people that you thought trusted don't. Sometimes the ones that you thought were really like, no, they don't trust your judge. They say, yeah, absolutely, 1,000%. But you got to put that question out there. And as an individual, with my own team, I'm not afraid to ask that question, because it's just like I said, a relationship. If you don't ask that question to your significant other, to your kids, your family, if you don't ask that question, then you're never going to know. Now, the thing is, you better be prepared for the answer, because sometimes we hear stuff that we don't want to hear as a leader. But if you know that this is somehow affecting your team, your obligation is to remove obstacles as a leader. Number one, that's your role. You got to remove obstacles, remove challenges and barriers, because nobody else is going to do it. I'm sorry. Like, if you think your team is going to do it without you, you're wrong. That's not going to happen. Your responsibility is to remove obstacles, and this could be the biggest one. And now, so you got to be open to at least asking your team those types of questions, and being able to be comfortable with the feedback, because there's sometimes they're going to tell you some stuff that you don't want to hear, but it's the truth. And it may even be the truth that is the truth, but for whatever reason, refuse to acknowledge it or refuse to deal with it. And so trust is such a huge factor. And if I have to look back after, through all the teams that I've worked with over my career and over my life, the thing that destroyed and disrupted every single one of those operations has always been trust. Has always been trust. The teams that I've rebuilt that were successful, guess what was at the core of that? Trust. And guess how I injected trust? Right off the bat, guys, we're going to be honest with each other. We're going to be transparent with each other. We're going to know all of our strengths together, individually and together, collectively. We're also going to know all of our weaknesses, collectively and individually, together. And guess what we're going to do? We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about our business and what is going on right now, and how our leadership is failing us and how we're failing each other. And guess what? Over time, there was a high level of trust in each other because we were transparent with each other. We were honest with each other. We didn't hide the fact. I never hid the fact that, hey, I suck right now. And you know what? I failed you guys. We took a risk and it didn't work out. I failed you. Starting with that kind of level of accountability and that level of ownership can only reinforce trust. So you got to let go of some of those things. Sorry, guys, it's starting to rain right now. I can hear it. You got to let go of some of those fears of what people may think. Because at the end of the day, I don't care what everyone thinks. I care that everybody is willing to work together. And that is my role, is to remove the barriers that are preventing us from being successful together in an environment where we are operating a business. Now, in a perfect world, I wish that we all love each other and all that, but that's not realistic, and that's not the expectation. The expectation is that we're able to do this together, collectively, bond together, and hey, over time we build a great relationship. And like I said, after companies I've left, I've carried on with relationships because that was my model. I want to help you grow, help you develop, but instill trust and transparency for us to be successful together. So I hope that's kind of some food for thought for you guys out there. If you're struggling with trust, or if you ever just kind of stop and take a look at your environment and see how people interact with each other, it's really apparent quickly whether or not the team is functioning with trust, or if there's a lot of talking behind, a lot of whispers behind about different parts of the department and each other, or so-and-so. Man, you will never get to the next level. But I'm gonna issue you one challenge. If you don't take action to change it, if you don't try to somehow, redirect that, then you're responsible for it too. Because if you're ignoring it, and I'm talking about on a leadership level, on a peer-to-peer level, from, if you're just an associate that works in a department, it doesn't matter. If you allow that environment to continue to be that way, you're part of the problem too. You got to have courage. Your goal and everyone's goal working in the workforce should have a positive environment. And I think a lot of us put that on the leader, like you have to institute that, which you're probably right. It is our responsibility. But sometimes the leader is so overwhelmed with things and overwhelmed with operations, they don't see it anymore. You got to step up and say, hey, man, like there's some stuff going on here. I think we need to talk about this as a team, or maybe we got to talk about it, one-on-one or whatever. But there's some rumbles in this environment and it doesn't feel good to be here. That's the worst part, guys. That's the worst thing, is when you walk into some place that you work and you can just feel the ugliness, you can feel the negativity, and you can feel that this is not a team. And it's sad. It's really sad. And I felt that recently, and it's just like, oh man, that's kind of tough, so stay tuned, you guys. Like I said, I hope that helps. That's some food for thought. But yes, trust is extremely important, and you can play your role. Regardless of your position, you play a role in that. So let me know what you think. Let me know if there's ever been an operation that you've been in that you felt like that you felt that the trust wasn't there, and what you've done to change it, or what you plan to do to change it. And if you ever need advice, always, email me at david@awakentheleaderinside.com. You can find us on our Facebook group, Instagram, all that good stuff, social media. And let me know what you think. And, we'll talk to you soon. So thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. Always remember to awaken the leader inside. Until next time, guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe. Make sure you hit that little bell on the top, right? Now it's time to get to work, and let's make it happen.